Hello, my name is Alfred Goodrich. I am the founder and CEO of Forte 3D, the creator of the world's first 3D printed carbon fiber cello. The whole idea of buying a 3D printer and trying to make a cello on it started out actually in the pandemic, where I had free time. I couldn't tour with my band, I couldn't book clients in my recording studio, and I just looked at some of the material chemistry of the filament and realized that this stuff is getting really good. And it's getting to be engineering grade, and they're starting to use it in aerospace. And I knew that if I could get enough stiffness from a 3D printed material per weight, it could sound amazing. And just that feeling, that little feeling in the back of my mind that I think this can be done, and that started the whole journey. So I started out as a chemist. My undergraduate degree is in chemistry. I worked briefly at Pfizer and very soon realized that I wanted to have music be my profession. In my spare time, that's all I was doing, playing cello with the orchestra, singing a cappella. I actually moved back home to Philadelphia to care for my dad, who had had a massive stroke when I was 5 and needed a lot of help at that point. I figured while I was there that I would give music a try. And I started interning at a local recording studio. Very quickly that turned into me recording people in my house. And then from there, I ended up growing Philadelphia's most successful recording studio. And we have been constantly booked for the last 20 years, something like that. And thousands of albums, thousands upon thousands of clients, and it's been a wonderful experience. And basically something that allowed me to take care of my dad also while I was working. Contingent with that, I also have a rock band called the Alfred James Band that I front standing up with the cello. And we have done 5 or 6 international tours, released 2 albums, done a bunch of national TV spots. I think our last show, other than a coffee shop, was the Vatican. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. I was teaching at a small prep school outside of Philadelphia, conducting the orchestra for 3 years. And in the hallway outside of the auditorium, there was a pile of instruments, some violins and cellos that had the sound post had fallen. The issue is when the sound post falls in an instrument, it rattles around in there, and if you try to put the bridge on and tighten it up, you can absolutely damage the instrument. And it requires a skilled luthier to put the post back in place properly, because you can easily damage the top and the back when you're doing it if you're not doing it right, and it requires a lot of precision to actually have the instrument sound good. And they're just sitting there wasted. And this is all over the country, all over the world, I'm sure. There are these instruments that are going to fallow, cellos, violins, violas, just because of the expense of not being able to put the sound post back up. And it can be an issue like where it's hundreds of dollars to do this. What I wanted to do was have an instrument where the sound post could never fall over. And I designed in the cello rings that allow you to adjust the sound post sonically, but will never let the sound post completely fall over in the instrument. We recently sold a cello to a 77-year-old woman who is playing the cello for the first time, and she was incredibly intimidated to pick up the instrument, and when she saw ours and saw the flexibility of it, it was a perfect match, and she is happily learning the cello now, and I'm looking forward to hearing her progress in the future. Our cello is incredibly unique. For the first time ever, the player can adjust their string height. With a simple Allen key turn, they can make their strings higher or lower, closer to the fingerboard or farther away, which can, for a beginner, enable them to play much more quickly, can enable them to have less pain when they're playing, and just helps them play the instrument earlier and avoid a lot of difficulty. If you've ever worked with cellists just starting out, it's an incredible impediment to learning the instrument, because the cellos, if they're set up properly, have a fairly high string height for a beginner. And it takes a lot of physical force to press down the strings when you're just learning, and most people don't have calluses on their fingers and don't, frankly, have the strength in their fingers to push down the strings properly. And there's blisters and there's calluses and there's complaining, and a lot of people end up abandoning the instrument because it's just physically too hard. What we've been able to do is, by having that adjustability in the neck and scroll, raising the fingerboard up, it's much, much easier to learn and to start out on. And as your technique grows and as your strength and calluses grow, you'll be able to get more sound out of the instrument and lower your fingerboard to grow with you. When you do that, then you kind of open more sonic possibilities of the instrument. And some professional cellists that we've set up cellos for have their strings incredibly high. And I'm like, oh, how do you even play with this? But that's what they like, and it's an incredibly physical effort to play the instruments, but that gets them into new sonic territories that they want to explore. And that breadth of being able to cater to the barest beginner and then the seasoned professional with one instrument is something that frankly hasn't been done before. They're incredibly robust. We think of it as a lifestyle instrument. You can play it out in the snow, you can play it in a desert. The cello does just wonderfully in all those climates, so it's a worry-free instrument as far as where you're playing it. And lastly, it's luthier-free for the life of the instrument. The sound post will never fall over. The instrument's incredibly robust. I actually stand on them in our shop, which I don't recommend people doing, but if you were so inclined, you could. There are a tremendous number of innovations with this instrument that no traditional cello has. And when you have a technology that met its peak with Stradivarius a couple hundred years ago, it's really been a field where people have stopped aggressively trying to push the ball forward. And there are absolutely exceptions to that, and there are amazing luthiers doing wonderful experimentation. But I really, really wanted to take the idea of, let's make something that any person that plays the cello can sit down, use those same movements, and a cello sound will come out. That was the basis of where I started. Everything else about the way it looks, the way it's shaped, the way it feels, etc., is up for grabs as far as the design process. Because it's so much lighter than a regular cello, especially with the top and the back, the strings speak very quickly. So it's very easy to play fast notes on it, and you get an immediate response from the instrument, which sometimes with even an excellent wooden cello can be an issue where you have a little bit of force to overcome and get the string really vibrating. If you would like to buy a cello or find out more information, please visit our website, forte3d.com, and of course follow us on social media. You can also go to our website, forte3d.com, sign up for our newsletter, where you can be kept up to date with all of our cello adventures.